Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. I'm your host, and today in this explainer, testing, optimizing, and validating cache strategies, we're taking that shiny new Solana API cache we just built and, well, strapping it straight onto the dynamometer. We're doing a full-blown engineering stress test. Because, let's be real here, pushing code to mainnet without stress testing it first, it's basically like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane and then checking to see if you actually packed a parachute. Not a great idea. Today, we're going to see exactly how much performance we can squeeze out of our cache, and honestly, more importantly, we're going to make absolutely sure it doesn't just spontaneously combust when things get a little chaotic.
Okay, so here's our test plan blueprint for the day. We're going to quickly cover why you actually need to validate your cache, how to set up the test harness, run a pretty grueling invalidation stress test, read those cache metrics, create your debug report, and finally take a quick look ahead at load balancing. Let's just dive right in.
So first up, why validate your cache? We really need to prove our operational logic actually holds up.
We just finished building this incredible distributed caching setup in the previous lesson. But before we open the floodgates and let live traffic onto this brand new bridge, we absolutely have to prove it won't just buckle under the weight. Having cache middleware wired up in your codebase is one thing, right? But trusting it blindly with real live data is a totally different ballgame. Deploying a cache without stress testing it, that can literally lead to a developer's absolute worst nightmare, serving dangerously stale data to your users. Think about it. In the hyper-fast world of Solana and Web3, boasting a high hit rate is utterly useless if a user sees an old wallet balance just because your invalidation events failed under pressure. Trust me on this one, absolutely nothing creates angry, all-caps Discord tickets faster than a user who thinks their soul just vanished into thin air, all because you served them a ghost of their account state. We have to validate that our caching actually works when the heat is on.
All right, moving on to setting up the test harness. Let's talk about building a safe, controlled staging environment.
So let's head into the lab. We need a secure sandbox, totally isolated from our live users, where we can simulate massive traffic without accidentally taking down production. To build this test harness, we basically need a few key ingredients. First up is our staging API. And listen, this part is crucial. It has to be an exact, unforgiving replica of production. No cutting corners here. Next, we need our cache nodes, something like Redis or Memcached. Then, we bring in the heavy artillery, an HTTP load generator. We absolutely love using K6 for this, because it can just seamlessly simulate thousands of virtual users hammering your endpoints all at once. We'll also hook up a metrics collector, like Prometheus, to capture all the carnage. And finally, a script that triggers invalidations on demand, so we can basically pull the rug out whenever we feel like it.
Now, we're going to run 3 distinct scenarios to get a really complete scientific picture of our cache's resilience. First, we do a baseline run for about 2 minutes where we completely bypass the cache. This is our control group, letting us establish exactly how slow things naturally are without any help. Second, we do a normal cached run just to see how things behave in a perfect sunshine and rainbows scenario. And finally, the stress run. This is the main event, guys. This is where we actively throw giant metaphorical wrenches into the gears just to see if our system bends or if it outright breaks.
And the difference between your baseline and your cached run, it should be a total night and day makeover. Your baseline run is going to show this sluggish, heavy origin load with a high P95 latency, which means even your fastest, most optimized requests are just dragging their feet. But that cached run? Oh man, that should hum like a well-tuned rocket engine. You should see a massive, immediate drop in latency, and honestly, barely a whisper of RPC requests actually making it to your origin servers. If you don't see that drastic change right off the bat, well, you already know you have a routing problem before you even get to the hard part.
Which brings us to the hard part, the invalidation stress test, testing under extreme pressure.
Now for the truly fun part. This is where we stop being so polite to our API and start acting like a totally chaotic, unpredictable user base. So, here's the exact stress sequence we're going to execute. We bombard the API with virtual users using K6, and while those thousands of requests are just flying in, we simultaneously fire off admin invalidation calls, something like forcing a sudden account balance update every 5 seconds. We are essentially trying to trip our own system while it's in the middle of a dead sprint. And then, we monitor the monitors. We watch incredibly carefully to see exactly how the system reacts to those sudden data purges.
During all this manufactured chaos, there is one terrifying yet wildly important question you have to ask yourself. Did we just serve stale data? I mean, really think about the gravity of that for a second. Did our invalidation events actually purge the right keys across all our distributed nodes? Or did a user slip through the cracks and get a cached, completely outdated wallet balance right after they completed a major transaction? That right there, that is the razor-thin line between a buttery smooth user experience and an absolute trust-destroying disaster.
So let's be explicitly clear here. Stale data is the ultimate nemesis of any caching architecture, period. It means your invalidation logic has completely failed at its one primary job. But hey, uncovering a zombie cache right here in the lab, actually, that is a massive victory. It means we can fix our routing, we can tune up our pub/sub propagation logic, or adjust our node syncs right here, right now, completely safely. Finding and crushing these failures before they cause actual financial chaos in the real world, well, that's exactly why we run these tests in the first place.
Okay, moving into the next phase, reading your cache metrics. Let's analyze our telemetry.
Now, if you want to dive super deep into advanced telemetry techniques, Forge College programs cover that extensively in other modules. But for now, let's just focus on how to read our current lab gauges. Because as engineers, we need hard data, not just, good vibes. You need to be constantly polling your metrics endpoint. We're talking at least every 10 seconds. You're collecting API-level data like P95 and P99 latency. And really quick, for anyone new to the term, P95 just means that 95% of your users are experiencing that specific speed or better. It's a way, way better gauge of real-world performance than just looking at a simple average, which can totally hide terrible lag spikes. So you track that latency right alongside your cache-specific telemetry, your hits, your misses, and your evictions. Comparing all these numbers across your 3 different runs, that is where the engineering magic truly happens.
And when you're staring at those metrics, you want to keep your eyes peeled for one very specific magical target number, 60%. For read-heavy Solana endpoints, achieving a hit rate above 60% is just a fantastic indicator of success. If you're crossing that threshold, you are drastically reducing the load on your origin RPC nodes. You're saving compute power, you're minimizing network bottlenecks, and perhaps best of all, you're keeping your back-end infrastructure bills from launching straight into the stratosphere.
All right, next up, creating your debug report. It's time to document and prove your work.
Once the smoke finally clears in the testing lab and your terminal mercifully stops scrolling, it is time for you, the chief engineer, to draft the debug report. This isn't just busy work. This is the artifact that proves your work to your team and your stakeholders. Your report should neatly tabulate your runs using unique run IDs. It needs to solidly prove your latency improvements by comparing that raw, unoptimized baseline directly to the cached runs. And most importantly, it has to mathematically verify a massive drop, like a beautiful, undeniable negative delta in those downstream origin RPC calls.
Because this report, it isn't just some receipt to file away in a drawer somewhere. It is your ultimate blueprint for fixing failure modes. So if you see mass cache misses, for instance, it might actually be caused by pathological time-to-live, or TTL, configurations, like, say, mistakenly trying to cache a rapidly changing Solana order book for 10 full minutes. You want to tie your raw telemetry directly to specific actionable recommendations. Honestly, this is exactly what separates junior developers from senior engineers. You prioritize your engineering work based on hard, undeniable evidence from your stress test rather than just taking random stabs in the dark.
And finally, next stop, load balancing, scaling our connections.
Guys, congratulations, you've successfully tested and validated your caching strategy. Just think about the journey we just took. We moved from the initial distributed build in our last lesson through rigorous, unforgiving lab testing today, and now we have a rock-solid foundation. We are finally prepared to confidently tackle request distribution and load balancing across our entire infrastructure.
But that leaves us with a thrilling, maybe even slightly dangerous engineering question. With our cache fully trusted, hardened, and proven under absolute fire, how much sheer, unadulterated load can this optimized API actually handle before it finally snaps? Like, how big do our back-end RPC pools actually need to be to support the next viral Web3 application without breaking a sweat?
While to find out the answer to that and to explore way more deep dive Web3 blueprints, make absolutely sure to visit forge.college and continue your learning journey. Thank you so much for joining me in the lab today for this explainer. Keep building, keep testing, and ask yourself this: when was the last time you actively tried to break your own code? I'll see you in the next one.